Wilder, CRN, and it is time now to go to streaming live at Facebook. Kimberly Dvorak, D-V-O-R-A-K. She's the award-winning National Security and Border Security Investigative Reporter for TV, radio, and print media. Kimberly is also the Senior Foreign Policy Advisor for the Committee for Responsible Foreign Policy. She is a TV correspondent, CW6 News San Diego, as well as One America News Network. You got it. Hey, her website, thekdreport.com. Kimberly, can you hear me? Because I know you're in Pennsylvania.
I can hear you. I got back last night, so I'm no longer there, but I had a very eventful trip up to the northeast corner of Pennsylvania. Spent a little time in Joe Biden's birthplace down there in Scranton, which is a very interesting place, but by and large, kind of stayed north of Scranton and went out and was just working on talking to various different people about what really happened up there with the election.
Yep, with Biden's birthplace, I guess what he get 99% of the votes. It seems like I heard he didn't get quite that many.
Oh, maybe 120, but I'm just joking.
And there's 125 people there. Yeah. So vote twice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, early in the evening again, until, the midnight hour, Trump had, was winning in, even in Scranton, and then all of the shenanigans that took place after the midnight hour, votes started changing. And let me just tell you, the local people up in there, and I've traveled in the last month or so all over Pennsylvania, really, just kind of, getting a feel of what's going on. These people are patriotic. These people are enthusiastic. These people are not going to let this election, at least in their state, be stolen from them. And the state legislatures in Pennsylvania are Republican. And there's been a lot of talk amongst people up there, and even in news reports up there, that this state is not going to sign off on the election on December 14th until the recount is cast. They're not going to give up those delegates, if you will, to Biden, and they will not certify their election results until they get their election, all of their votes 100% recount. So that's going to take some time. So you look at that, the mainstream media not covering this angle whatsoever. And it's to the point where, I go up, I get the local newspapers, some of them are just very small, and, some of the larger ones. And, you look at the larger, from Philly and Pittsburgh, and the ones that try to, disperse to, a lot of people around the state. They're all, all the articles that are written about the election and Donald Trump and all of that are all written by the wire services. So they're essentially, the only news that they're getting is from like the AP news writer, who happens to be Julie Pace, who's here in Washington, D.C., and Reuters. And so they're not even getting different points of view, and you're not even in these bigger papers seeing anything positive about what's going on, the enthusiasm if you leave Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
About 3 or 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, it was with my hometown paper, and I've told people all the time, exactly what you just said. You can't rely on your hometown paper anymore. Maybe when you get to page 12, and the guy that owns the paper, might do a column. But I said, let me just check out the headline. Yep. And it was about, President Trump. I almost forgot. Obama's so, putting so much effort out there, I'm almost saying he must be the second president-elect. Who knows? Anyway, and the first line was, President Trump, under his normal rambling on about something, decided today that we are going to stay in the Space Force, and it was like, what do you mean his normal ramblings on,
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to ramble on too much.
No. And, I think that, a lot of questions that I got from, people up in Pennsylvania, what's going on with the election? Is what we're reading, is this actually what's happening, or does the president still have a chance to become, come back and serve a second term here? and because they're not getting those questions answered. And with everything that I'm reading, again, everything is kind of is a long shot. I know we were a little somber last week. This week, I think I would have to say I'm a little more optimistic about this. But I really think that instead of Florida, 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 I really think it's going to be Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania. And there you're seeing the Trump campaign, and you're going to see the biggest lawsuit push in Pennsylvania. And a lot of the collecting of the ballots after the polls had closed, and discrepancies with the envelopes not matching the actual signatures on the inside envelope which went with the ballot, and a lot of shenanigans that took place there. But if they can get that case to the Supreme Court, then what that will do in these other states like Michigan and Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, they will actually, those rules that the Supreme Court sets out there, they will have to follow those parameters, if you will. And then so Pennsylvania could actually still be the state that wins it for the president, because it will force these other states that are like sitting on the bubble. And it's again, like I said, I'm much more hopeful today than I was last week about that. Just seeing the enthusiasm and the support for the president, across the state, really, in Pennsylvania, is just remarkable. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. It's going to be a slow process, but again, we're seeing a lot of reports from professors from MIT that are going through and know how to do the computer forensics, and they all go in, and all of this stuff is open source. So I mean, the election results and all of that data is open source. So you don't even have to really fill out a FOIA to go get that. So they're going through the analytics of it all, and the analytics are coming up, and they're seeing the anomalies in this that just mathematically are not possible.
Well, let me tell you, I ran across a very long, in-depth report, and sort of was saving it for tomorrow because I'm going to be talking about for 1 hour about the Dominican voting system.
Yeah.
And this whole article was about Dominican voting systems, hammer, scorecard. And the interesting thing is, they said the 2020 election, before it even took place, that Trump set up a national emergency trap, so to speak.
Yep.
Where he said he wrote an executive order which that declares a national emergency.
Yep.
If any other country interferes with our election.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know who makes Dominican voting and hammer? Remember Hammer, the one that the CIA used against Trump?
Yep.
Dominican and Hammer are built in Canada.
Yep. And partial owners,
So,
Nancy Pelosi, and there's
Einstein.
yeah, there is also some interesting things about that company. Yeah, it's interesting, and I think that you're not really seeing the president. He's not getting into any of the legal details that they're going to be presenting. And there have been, some of the spokespeople for the campaign that come out, except for Fox, because Fox is total blackout now of covering the election because Joe Biden won in their mind, which is why they're losing millions of viewers.
In fact, remind me, because I want to check your I want to pick your brain. Okay, check her brain. It's there. Okay, yeah, I want to pick it about. Well, I'll do it right now since I brought it up.
Okay, good.
One American News. Okay, because as I mentioned, listener, Kimberly's also pops up on One American News at time, along with San Diego 6, and both of them are located, by the way, in San Diego, California, right?
Yeah, but they have One America has a Washington, D.C. studio here, so.
I have one complaint about One America. For example, last night, after a football game, I'm not watching Fox unless it's my guy, Tucker. I'm just kind of going along. I hate to see these same old people pop up, that name Trump on Fox now.
Yeah.
But here I am right after I watched the football game, and I go over to One America News, and I think they had like 4 minutes of news, and then it says, the next program, right? Well, today is da-da-da-da-da, Veterans Day, and I'm going to, and they do that a lot. There are so many times, they're 3 or 4 days behind running a program.
Well, what they do, it can, on Fox News, most viewers will know that, they'll run their primetime people in primetime hours, and then they repeat those, afterwards. So One America does the same thing. And on the weekends, they just don't have the staff to cover some of those, time slots, so they do kind of run that. I think one of the other up-and-comers here we're seeing is Newsmax, and you're seeing a couple of faces from Fox News that have gone that direction. And you're also seeing a lot of talk that, Tucker is, really considering leaving Fox as well. While he's on top, and then he can figure out where he wants to go. Because I just don't think that there's anything that anybody can take from Fox News right now is that they're in trouble, their viewership is in trouble, and they're looking for another outlet. And we don't know exactly where that outlet would be. I've always said One America has had the opportunity to be that alternative, but they just don't want to take that extra leap, and I don't understand that. And in the meantime, we've been watching, Newsmax, and they're picking up a little bit of that slack. The president said that,
you can even tell on Newsmax and One America News, they have some new commercials.
Yeah, exactly. Because Fox or One America used to always, put the, here's something about the Constitution, here's something about the Bill of Rights. It was always kind of a little educational thing, which I enjoyed. I don't know how many people enjoy that, but yeah, you're seeing commercials, so you're seeing them. They're growing for sure, but it's going to really come down, I think, between Newsmax and One America News, because they already have established networks, so they don't have to fight for it over on cable outlets. They don't have to build a whole new system, so to speak. So they're growing, and that's a good thing, and you're starting to see them being picked up by more and more cable providers. But
we know, and this will be, I guess, my last comment on this, but with Tucker Carlson, his ratings are the highest of all cable shows, news shows there are. And so for One America, for example, to take him and give him a 2-hour thing every year, 5 days a week, and I know he's not going to get the salary he's getting at Fox, but I think they could say, we'll pay you, $1,000 for every 5 new listeners. Watch out.
Yeah, I don't know how all that works, and I don't, I just know that he's on the verge. He's had it with, the news business, especially with journalists, as have I. I mean, they're activists. They're not journalists anymore. They're all opinionated. And when, we all started writing adjectives, that's the first thing your editor would go through. Oh, there's an adjective. That's gone. That's gone. And now all it is opinion. And it's very sad that that's where it's had to go to. But and I just don't know that the country will believe the media anymore in any stretch. So that's why you're seeing people, even like Megyn Kelly, going out and starting her own channel. This is where news is headed. The internet was the gateway for this, and good riddance to the mainstream media, because they only have themselves to blame when all of this, all of the details of their sordid past come out and have to face sunlight like the rest of people in this country. When they do something wrong, there are consequences. The mainstream media, they're going to see those consequences coming at them pretty fast and hard as well.
Yeah, they're talking about CNN. Oh, our ratings are going up a little bit. Well, that's a protest against Fox.
Yeah.
And whatever. Listen, I want to get back to this whole thing about ballots.
Yeah.
Because Pennsylvania, you had a very interesting story, and we got 2 minutes before we're going to take a quick break. There's a skinny guy, who used to be the boss of Philly, a mob boss. Skinny Joe is it Merlino?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I just call whenever I call him up, I just call him Skinny Joe.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably why they call him Skinny Jones.
Really, Mr. Skinny Joe, I think, according to this report. Let's touch on this. We may have to. Well, it's not that long, but go ahead.
As this whole process unfolds and people come out and say that they're willing to, talk to individuals about election fraud that they've seen or participated in, obviously they don't want to, put themselves out there and then open themselves up to being arrested and thrown in jail for the crime of, changing the election results. And this is one guy who said that he's done it. He can tell them exactly what and how they went about this. He's been doing this for, several elections going back decades, and he's willing to come forward, tell his story under two rules. He does not want to be prosecuted for any of his past crimes, presumably with the mob, and he does not want to be prosecuted for coming out and letting everybody know how the election fraud takes place. He also, the second thing that he wants is he wants the Hollywood producers out there to make a movie of his life. And then he said he will come forward and tell us all what what the process is and how they go about changing and flipping the votes. In this case, again, in Pennsylvania, which we do know that Philadelphia is really one of the most fraudulent cities that's pretty corrupt when it comes to the elections. And
I keep going back, Kimberly, to the time that senior couple were getting ready to vote in Philadelphia for when Obama was running, and they had the thugs outside with billy clubs. When you go in there, you will vote for Obama.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a break. And now back to Skinny Joe Carlson. He's a very serious person you should think about, listener, because he is volunteering to go ahead and give the information how they ordered up some 300,000 election ballots marked for Biden.
Yeah.
And they would be the people that are doing this. They were making like $1,000 an hour. Nobody called me. I would have flown out there, right? We could have got a plane together.
Guess if it's good work if you can get it, huh? Yeah, they were actually. And this
really?
This was like from like midnight. Like they did this the election night, so this was the dark hours in the morning when everybody else was sleeping. They were busy paying $10 per hour and had a total of $3 million that they were able to spend to get these ballots, into their hands, to which, some of the bosses running across the entire state of Pennsylvania, if we are to believe Mr. Skinny, that this was something that they used. They took out their Sharpies and they were just, circling Joe Biden, and to the tune of about 300,000 ballots, which at this point, if those are all found and presumably thrown out, then that makes the race extraordinarily too close to call. And I think these will be issues that the Trump campaign will be bringing up in court. But yeah, that's how they do that. This is exactly how they do it. And this we know that Blago last week came out after the election, said this is exactly what we do and what we did in Illinois. And they have like a boss person, like maybe the cartel leader guy at the top, and then everything is low, and you go all the way down to your users, and everybody buys and moves things around, and that's how they do a lot of this. And a lot of the election fraud too are simply ballots, again, thrown into the trash. I mean, that costs nothing, which one would have to question. Are there cameras in all of these polling places so we can see things like that? Presumably the post office has cameras. Those are all issues. And again, without getting into the weeds too much, this stuff most likely is going to center in Pennsylvania only, because if they can prove their case in Pennsylvania with the Supreme Court, then the Supreme Court is going to look at these issues, and it's going to be applied to the Michigan and Wisconsin and Arizona and Georgia, Nevada, and other states that are still kind of too close to call right now. And you're going to see some of these, states kind of flip their votes around, and the president, they're betting that he's going to win re-election. Again, I don't know how long it's going to take for this to get to the Supreme Court, but the date that everybody is looking at is going to be December 14th, because that's when the states have to certify.
December 14th, okay. Hey, and real quick, Kimberly, a good friend of mine and guest on my program, Selwyn Duke, and his website, selwynduke.com, just came out with one a couple of days ago about where the Detroit Democrats, whenever the military ballots came in, they said they wouldn't go into the receiving machines. Boy, I'm telling you.
Everywhere.
This is unbelievable.
Yep.
Wow. And the office of the president-elect, they've never had that. President-elect. All right. We're all out of time, Kimberly,
Alrighty.
and you're really traveling around, let's plan on doing this next time, shall
All
we?
righty.
That's a safe answer. Yeah, next time. Next time I have her, I'm going to have her. Okay. Kimberly Dvorak. D-V-O-R-A-K. And as I say, go to the kdreport.com. Sign up for